How are you, Intensa? So is everyone doing? Hey, well, it's crazy what's happening with the weather. It's been super active, and it seems like the weather is trying to bother us a bit with the World Cup because the rain is going to get intense in this area. And here we have two of the stadiums that will be used in the World Cup, which are the one in Guadalajara and also the Azteca Stadium, right? Which, well, is also going to be part of the World Cup, right? And over here on this side is the Monterrey Stadium, which is the stadium that will be active in Monterrey, obviously not specifically in Guadalupe, but that's what they call it now. So what's going on? What's happening in that regard? What's the issue? First of all, a tropical storm is expected. In fact, it already has a name. It's called Boris, and it's already starting to cause problems for Mexico. Here we see the image. Let's see if it's there. Look, Boris and Cristina, two tropical storms. Well, that's news to me too, because Cristina wasn't there a moment ago, and now Cristina is there. Two tropical storms at the same time. One that's in front of Central America, and another that's in front of Mexico specifically. Which Central American country has it? It's... where are we going to reach, right? No, I can't quite tell. It's between Nicaragua and Honduras, right? That's where the phenomenon is. Nicaragua, Honduras, and El Salvador, or San Salvador, right? That's where it is. Well, these two phenomena, Cristina and Boris, those are the two phenomena that are drawing attention right now. They are, and it's going to be a more active season in the Pacific than usual, according to what the experts report. That's it. The prediction. And then there's, by the way, or there was Amanda. Do you remember Amanda? Amanda is here. It's not a tropical storm anymore. Right now, it's a tropical depression, but Amanda is still there. Because once it became a tropical storm, it keeps the name, even if it weakens. So it's still Amanda. Amanda is there. Boris here, Cristina here, right? Remember, they go in alphabetical order, right? That's how they're named as they form. B and C, that's the thing. So, well, let's see which one comes next on the list. I don't remember the name, but that's how things are right now. That's how things are going at the moment. Well, now let's get into the details. And what are the meteorologists from here, from this region, from this part of the world, warning about in light of this activity that's happening? First of all, since you're here, look, give us a hand and share this, because it's really important, since that allows us to be here every day with you all informing, knowing first that you like the reports. And also, the fact that you're subscribed allows us to know how many people we're reaching. And above all, also, so that you receive the notification of the news service we do daily, right? For the whole community. Now, the whole community already speaks Spanish, let's say, right? So wherever there's a challenge, wherever there's trouble here, we'll let you know as quickly as possible, right? According to what's already being talked about, right? The storm, Boris, would already be about 130 to 135 kilometers from the southeast part of Acapulco. I think it's even closer now. Honestly, we'll check it right now, but it's already very close. So it's heading in that direction towards all of Guerrero, Oaxaca, Michoacán, Jalisco, Colima, and so on. Well, we need to pay attention to the phenomenon because it's going to bring a lot of rain and it might possibly make landfall, which is not normal. I don't know if it's going to form into a hurricane, honestly, but I think it's unlikely. If we look at just Boris, check out the image. If we look at just Boris, here's the phenomenon. That's where it is, and it's heading toward Acapulco. You see? There it is. It's going to move toward Acapulco. Let's hope it's only a tropical storm. Right now, it's at 56 kilometers per hour. The winds are mild. At times, they reached 65 kilometers per hour, even 72 kilometers per hour, right? I mean, it's been kind of strange, right? So look, that's it. Right now, it's at 72 kilometers per hour. According to the latest report, it's now at 72 kilometers per hour. Yeah. So it's gaining strength. It could even become a Category 1 hurricane. That's why you shouldn't be overconfident, friends from Guerrero. You've already seen what has happened at other times in other years. Don't let your guard down, right? Just stay alert and be prepared in case the rain and winds get intense, right? You already know the risks involved, the risks associated with this type of storm, right? And right now, let's also take a look at what's expected for the United States, right? There are also chances of storms, and regarding the earthquake in the Philippines, it's still in the news. Keep that in mind. What time will it make landfall? Let's get into the details. Boris, what time does it make landfall? Mexico's National Meteorological Service warns that the impact is imminent. Cyclone Boris on the coast of Guerrero will cause torrential rains, high surf, and obviously the suspension of classes. Now that's also important to remember. According to what it says here in Mexico, the formation of the system came from Tropical Depression 2E, which became consolidated, like this tropical storm, the first to reach the country. It wasn't the first to form, but it's the first to reach the country. For the Center for Phenomena, it is located approximately 100 kilometers southeast of Acapulco and near the coast of Guerrero. Civil protection agencies and others are already on high alert. Now they're already on alert. So, friends, please get ready, right? Guerrero will be the state most affected. It is expected that the effects from the rain bands of this storm, so to speak, this cyclone, will bring torrential rainfall that could exceed 250 millimeters of accumulated rainfall. This is what usually falls over several months, so it's quite a lot of water. So pay close attention to this area, right? It's a lot of water. It's a lot of water for Oaxaca as well. Look, for Oaxaca, about 75 to 155 millimeters are expected to fall. This can also cause risks of landslides and overflows in Oaxaca. So be careful with that, right? The waves pose an imminent danger to coastal communities and maritime navigation, and waves of 4 to 5 meters high are forecasted from the Chacua Lagoons to Tecpan de Galeana. According to the reports, well, that's how things are. That's how things are on this matter. That's how the situation is unfolding. Riesgos. The same Civil Protection Authority assures and asks the most vulnerable population to identify the nearest temporary shelters to avoid risks. Obviously, it's also very important. And well, to our friends who are also in the direction of Michoacán and Jalisco, take the information into account even though it might not affect you as much over there. So that's also important, right? Keep that in mind if you live there. And look, all the rain is going to happen. All the rain will mostly happen in the center. But look, Jalisco is still very far away, right? So it's unlikely that it will affect you over there. So yes, it's possible. But beyond that, the phenomenon isn't heading your way, right? Keep that in mind as well. So there could be more rain, and that's something to keep in mind. But that's all, right? So that's the issue there. Now, there's also an alert for the United States. Let's go there. Let's talk about that topic. We'll keep following this and updating it every few hours. As long as there's information, we'll keep discussing it here. So stay tuned. And if you live around there, get in touch. If you want to give us a report or some information, we'll share it here, all right? Notice that the storms will also affect the United States, and there's an alert for several states. If I'm not mistaken, it's for 48 states. I mean, more than storms. It's an alert covering 48 states. It's not for the storms. It's for something else, though that's unclear. We'll explain soon. It's actually for the heat wave or the extreme heat in the United States. And by the way, it covers the entire northern part of the United States, including us here. Though I don't think so. We were spared a bit here in this area. But not anymore. We're no longer spared. Here we are. Look, Monterrey isn't spared from this anymore. I mean, it's also going to have that tremendous heat. So, well, be aware of that. Because some very hot days are coming. Because honestly, 30 degrees is nothing. Honestly, I mean, for example, in Mexicali, it's going to be around 40 degrees. So that's not comfortable, right? For these areas, 30 degrees. So friends from the southern United States and northern Mexico, there's going to be a strong heat wave. So 48 states in the United States. Look, even up north, the heat reaches all the way to Texas and even Canada. Central Illinois, for example, is preparing for extreme heat and thunderstorms due to the high pressure system that's affecting the whole country. It's affecting all of the United States. So pay attention to this. There are 48 states under this high pressure, which causes storms, but also generates quite intense heat. The alerts have already been issued for Illinois, but also for many other states, 48 states, as I mentioned. So almost all of the United States, right? According to reports, it's actually all the states except Alaska, right? And Hawaii. So it's basically everywhere else. All the others, right? This applies, doesn't it? According to the reports, there will be record temperatures in the coming days. Starting today, thunderstorms are expected, by the way, for the following places. Let's see where the thunderstorms are coming in, right? And let's keep watching and move on to other topics, right? But right from the start, it's already expected, isn't it? At least so far, there are thunderstorms in a good part of the central United States, and we're seeing that, right? Strong thunderstorms are expected across this whole area, all this area we're talking about. Well, in parts of Texas, there are some thunderstorms, but the most intense ones are up towards Missouri and further north, right? Yes. From Wisconsin, it goes into Illinois, then into Arkansas, Minnesota, and so on, right? That's where it really starts to get more and more intense. And there are a lot of, well, yes, rounds of rain, storms that bring hail, that bring a lot of sudden heavy rain. You know how this goes, right? Besides the typical lightning strikes that come with storms, right? So first of all, be careful if you're in any of these states in the United States that we're looking at, and if you're in an area with extreme heat, especially take care of yourselves too, okay? Don't let your guard down, wear your cap, stay hydrated. You know how it is, but it's good to be reminded, right? The heat wave will extend from the coast of California all the way to New York. Basically, according to reports, this heat wave will be the result of It was a strong high-pressure ridge that's expected to settle over much of the United States and part of Mexico. So that's also an issue, right? The heat wave, along with thunderstorms, along with the two tropical storms. One is Boris, which is in Mexico, and Cristina, which is in the center. And it's also going to hit hard. And by the way, it's also bringing a significant amount of rainfall, right? I mean, the amount of rainfall for Central America in the coming days is intense. I mean, if you look now, especially for Managua, for Nicaragua, but also El Salvador, all of this, look, just notice it's a lot of water, right? I mean, some coastal areas of El Salvador in the next few days, up to the 15th, today is the 8th, right? I mean, basically in 1 week, 255 to 257 millimeters of water is a lot of water, right? And it's going to be distributed mainly over 2 or 3 days, but I'm saying I'm putting it over a week to give us an idea of how the water load will be in the coming days. So regardless of the amount of water, also keep in mind that it's sudden water. I mean, it happens in just a few days. And that's what causes the most problematic effects, because it leads to floods, landslides, overflows, and so on. It's not the kind you already know. Let's move on to other important matters. Well, a regrettable situation is already being reported for the Philippines because of the earthquake we've mentioned here, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, right? The truth is, the results are already coming in about how it happened and everything that took place. Normally, earthquakes, as you know, are mostly just a scare, right? But on some occasions, like in the case of yesterday's earthquake, well, this earthquake, which actually hit them today, right? Because they're ahead of us time-wise. Well, today's earthquake, June 8th, the number of deaths so far is 32 people, 17. It's known that there are also people missing and, well, 32 who so far are known to have lost their lives, right? So a small tsunami, a powerful earthquake, and the collapse of small and even some medium-sized buildings. But also, well, it's tremendous, right? For example, among these 32 people who died, there's a case of 13 villagers who lost their lives, and they weren't in buildings, they were in small houses, but there was a landslide, and unfortunately, they were buried under the earth. So yes, it is a tough issue, a tremendous issue. It's an earthquake, one of the big ones. Let's put it that way. That major earthquake. According to what Teresito Balconol, director of the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, says, he warns people to seek advice before returning to buildings, not to go back to buildings if they are not safe. And if you live in a damaged house and are at risk of it collapsing, it's better to go to the authorities to check exactly what's happening. Be patient with that as well, because the inspection won't be immediate. So, well, that's part of the recommendations, right? Well, be extremely cautious. And there are shelters that are still active. And well, that's also important to mention. So let's move on to other topics. How have you been? Look, well, I wanted to finish with these storm alerts and situations like that. I know this doesn't apply to all countries, because if you're in Chile, for example, maybe you don't care about what's happening in other regions, but I appreciate you joining us from wherever you are, because here we usually talk about all the areas, and there is always some area at risk. Well, we try to talk about it here. I try not to miss any of them. But anyway, greetings to Blanca Barceló. How have you been, Blanca? How are things over there? How's everything in your area, Blanca? Well, over here, it's been almost every day. In fact, this morning it was drizzling, right? The rain is really nice, very refreshing, honestly, really, really good. But I think it's over now. I think it's calm. It's not good, says Leonardo Perez. And for sure, with the super El Nino, more than a heat wave, we're going to have a... I know, right? Let's see how it goes. But so far, it's been calm here. But for example, in New York or in places further north, it's been rough. It's been hitting hard. And this issue is happening very quickly, which had also been warned about more phenomena in the... Well, we've already started with the first one, just as the season is beginning and we're dealing with Boris. Now let's see how Boris turns out, and let's see how Cristina turns out, right? But yeah, that light is interesting. Pull it over. How have you been? How have you seen BTC's reaction? I see it's going to 63,000. Bitcoin is bouncing back with some strength because it dropped to 59. Now it's at 63. Is it just a rebound? Just a natural bounce? But then will it drop again afterward? Right? That's usually what happens, right? First, it drops hard. Then it bounces. But that bounce is buyers. People who are buying. But then another drop comes afterward. Out. And then that's when the real bounce happens, I think. Right? But well, let's see if that's how things play out. We'll be analyzing it, Eliseo. Greetings to you and to the whole community that's joining us. Thank you so much for being with us. MT Orion, big greetings to those watching us on replay. Please leave your comments, send us a message about how things are going in your countries, in your areas. And thanks to Novak's dad for joining us here and giving us our 1000th like. He says greetings, awesome. So have an excellent afternoon. We'll keep talking later. If not, we'll probably be chatting live. Right now, we're going to take a break. We're going to eat. Enjoy your meal to those who are already eating, having breakfast or dinner, whatever time it is for you. But we'll keep talking. See you later.